Today is officially October 10th, so I would like to wish you guys a happy World Mental Health Day. I hope you guys have been having a great day so far. My name is Skylar Basco. I'm a high school junior from New York, and I'm an intern here at Fiveable. I'm so excited to help kick off this new health and wellness series in this live stream with some awesome people. You guys can introduce yourselves here.
You can go first.
I am Chris Clancy. I am the lead AP Euro teacher here. I taught AP Psychology for 7 years, as well as AP World History. I am streaming to you guys from New Zealand, so good evening to you all. It is midday for me on Friday, so World Health Day is past for us. But for me as an AP Psych teacher, every day is World Health Day. It's probably the most important thing I think that we can do as teachers to help you guys as students.
Yeah, and my name is Emily Pedrazi. I'm from Central Oregon. It's a pretty small place, but I'm a content creator for human geography and psychology, and I'm also a psychology live streamer, and I'm happy to be here since it's such an important issue that people just push under the rug or feel uncomfortable talking about.
Yeah, awesome. So essentially, in today's live stream, we're going to be talking about basically anything related to managing your stress, whether it be time management or balancing your extracurriculars or academics or social life. So everyone feel free to go to the Ask a Question section of this live stream and essentially ask any questions related to managing your stress, because we are here for you to help you guys out whenever possible within the stream. Today is going to be chill. It's going to be about you guys. And we want to make sure that after this live stream, you guys are equipped with ways to manage your stress and even prevent it in the long run, so you prioritize yourself more. But before we get started, we just wanted to gauge how everyone is feeling as of now. So can everyone please go to the polls section, and you will find 2 questions, right? The first question is, how has your school year been so far? So we just wanted to gauge how you've been feeling. So has it been fun? Has it been stressful? Has it been a combination of both? And be honest, because we just want to keep note of how you guys are feeling, just to make sure you guys are right. And also in the other poll, if you are feeling stressed, feel free to vote exactly what it is that you are stressed about. Is it time management? Is it AP classes and studying, extracurriculars, or social life? So yeah, we just wanted to get a gauge on where your stress may be coming from, because it's not a permanent thing, and we want you all to know that there are solutions out there. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, it seems like the highest voted option in the poll is a combination of both, in terms of fun and stressful, in terms of how the school year has been so far, and then people have been most stressed about AP classes and studying. So
Sorry.
Oh no, you can go. Yeah.
So you'll see in the Ask a Question, I already put a question up there for you guys to kind of comment on about how many of you are in more than 4 AP classes, because I'm interested to know, those of you that are having a lot of stress about AP classes, how many of you are taking more than 4, and why you decided to take more than 4. And then one side note, just so that everybody knows, we are not doctors, we're not psychologists, we're not psychiatrists, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to just help you manage your stress. It is okay to reach out to a medical professional if you need help, okay? Please don't think that it's not okay. We're here to help you find those resources and to help you figure out who's the right person to reach out to, right? So just make sure that you know that it's okay to reach out to a medical professional, and there's nothing wrong with having any kind of mental health issue. 1 in 3 people in their lifetime will have some sort of mental health issue, and that's a lot more than people think. So it is perfectly normal and okay.
And it's also really important to note that just because you're high functioning doesn't mean that you can't have problems. High functioning does not correlate to healthy mental state. And that's just something that a lot of AP students don't realize. They think that, oh, just because I can get out of bed or just because I'm taking all of these classes doesn't mean that means that I can't be depressed or I can't have mental health issues. When in reality, that's not the truth. Just because you have to balance, it's a balancing act. You might be slipping in your social life. At times you might slip in your grades. It's just, it depends on the area.
Yeah, for sure. And we just want to make you guys available to some important mental health resources. So we have a link in there in the stream to many different links to different resources that you can check out in terms of managing your stress. But before we get started with everything, we just want to talk to you guys about how we personally manage stress in our everyday lives. And if you guys like any of the methods that we use, you can potentially incorporate those into your daily life. So I can start off. So for me personally, as a junior in high school, I do have a lot on my plate in terms of my extracurricular and AP course load. But what has worked for me personally is thinking of homework and studying and extracurricular work in a weird way as routinely habits rather than choices that you can push aside. Because, for example, let's just say brushing your teeth, right? Twice a day. That's a habit that you are naturally inclined to do without putting much stressful thought into it as studying. But if you ingrain it into yourself that actions like studying and homework are in that same category of necessary tasks like brushing your teeth, then you'll begin to establish a routine that disposes of that stress with having to tackle studying. And eventually you'll be able to avoid thoughts of pushing things back and procrastinating because now working on school assignments will become more habitual and it will allow you to focus on your energy and completing those assignments so that you'll have more time for breaks. Oh wait, did I? What happened?
Oh, someone else is on the Fiveable account.
Oh god.
We can still hear you.
Okay, cool. So, and you'll have more time to like focus on yourself, and rather than stressing out about the anticipation involved with not wanting to study. Oh wait, also, how do I get back on here?
Is it working for you?
Um.
Oh, I think you're coming back. It popped.
Didn't pop up on my end.
No, I mean the thing that said she was trying to connect popped off. Wait, speak, Skylar?
Hello.
Okay, yeah, she's still here.
Yeah. So I'm here. Okay. So I'm just gonna keep on talking right now. So
It's okay.
like, yeah. So by like treating, oh, you guys can see me. Okay, cool. So by treating schoolwork,
That's good.
Oh,
yeah,
weird.
more as habits. So if you treat schoolwork more as habits, like rather than decisions that can be brushed aside, I can absolutely guarantee you guys that you'll start to see a lot of progress in terms of a more organized day-to-day routine. And having the set schedule will bring forth a lot of benefits, including being able to have more downtime to prioritize yourself in the long term.
Yeah, and just...
Do you want to go next?
Oh, sure. Overall, a big part of it is just knowing yourself. Don't push yourself like beyond what you think you can do. Know how you learn to avoid piling on extra stress by... It's kind of like one of those block games that you had as a child where you have the square and then the triangle. If you're trying to cope with life in a way that works for a triangle as a square, it's not going to work. It's not going to fit in that hole. You have to tailor it specifically to you. I'm also an 11th grader at in high school. Oh, hi, Mary. We should have Mary joining us in just a second.
Awesome. Okay.
So it's overall... Sorry, I'm trying to remember. Would you like to go while I gather my thoughts?
Sure.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, Mary. Welcome to the stream.
Yeah.
Busy day?
This is one way that I actually help with my stress. This is my cat who likes to follow me every single where I go. But more realistically, for me, when I manage my stress, I try to do it in the most healthy way as I can. And that's the big thing, is finding the healthy ways to manage stress. For me, that is either reading a book. I just moved halfway across the world, which is probably one of the most stressful things that you can do in your life. And kind of, start my life over. I've put myself out there by joining things I used to do in the States to get a sense of normalcy. A lot of the time, my students, when they're that stressed, what I notice is they start to cut things off and kind of isolate themselves. One of the biggest things that we can do is prevent yourself from doing that. And it takes a lot of practice to do that. It's not something you can just do overnight. Because natural inclination when you have nothing in control is to find that one thing you can control, whether it's what you do or it's what you eat or who you talk to. And I'm not that old, but in my 33 years, what I've learned is that it's okay when things are out of my control. Sometimes you just can't control everything. And that's okay. Because if we were meant to control everything, life would be kind of boring. because we won't have anything to talk about as we get older. Recognizing that things happen to you as well as you happening to things is a perfectly normal part of life. The other thing is, for those of you that are probably a little more religious, I trying to find some comfort in my faith. We have a saying in Judaism, Gamze Avor. It means that it will pass. And we say that saying not just in bad times, though. We say it in good times and bad times, because the good times do pass as well. We go through those mountains and those valleys, and that's all part of living. And I try to use that as my mantra, especially for when I cannot control that, Gamze Avor, this too shall pass. Mary, how do you usually handle stress in your life?
Well, I have high blood pressure, so I have to learn how to handle stress. How was it? Yeah, I was teaching AP psychology, and I was always having to cover the stress and health unit. So when my blood pressure got diagnosed, I was actually in the hospital. And I used one of the methods I taught about in class to bring my blood pressure down. And they're like, how did you do that? I said, well, I taught my students how to do it themselves. So they're like, you just got to relax and breathe and think calm thoughts. My phone's going crazy right now because it's homecoming week. And that's why I was kind of stressed out on my way over here trying to get signed on, because I'm also, besides teaching AP Psych, I'm also cheer advisor at my school. I have a psychology club, so I have multiple things going and running at the same time. And the kids were just finishing everything, and the computer at school decided to put up a firewall and not let me sign on to Crowdcast.
Oh no!
So I had to rush home to try to get signed on here. So yeah, I just take a deep breath. I've kind of taught my students, because I have, I'm assuming just like you, as any other teacher here, I have students that take multiple AP classes. And because I teach psych, my class is the class I decide to have their mental breakdowns in. Like, I have literally had little kids who have 4 or 5 AP classes go into a fetal position on the floor in my room because they're so stressed out. And they don't just take AP classes, they do extracurricular activities, they play sports. And I'm like, when do you sleep? And they're like, and I'm like, how many hours a day do you sleep? And then they were getting migraines and stuff like that. So for me, I just thought of I had stress coping mechanisms, and that's what I teach the kids to do. And that usually works. And I said, but it's different for everybody. So what works for one person might not work for another. So we talk about the different ones. And then part of the reason why they like covering stress in my class is because I do one class where everybody just comes in and sleeps. They listen to them. Yeah, so they all just lie down, and I always do that class the week of finals, the day before finals start. So the kids have just a day where they can just veg and just let their minds be free. And that works a lot too. So I just use a lot of stress coping mechanisms, like listening to music I like, doing a pastime I love. It's different for everybody. And some people just need quiet. Personally, I don't want to hear nothing. Just let me be and let me rest my head. But that usually works really well too.
Yeah. Load it up on caffeine every day. Just be careful with caffeine. It may help you in the short term, but in the end it could mess up your neurotransmitters and
speaking of caffeine.
AP Psych, sorry. We're all AP Psych streamers here, except Skylar.
Yeah, caffeine for me, I can only drink about 1 cup of caffeine and then I start to crash.
Well, I will tell you this. One of my students about 2 years ago, because, he took AP Psych, and he just graduated last year, is going to UCR to become a psychologist. Oh, and he started his senior year a group at our school called Mellow Minds. And it was basically made up of all the students who were stressed out. And they had a weekly meeting once a week in my room. And they would talk about how to deal with their stress levels. And it was very therapeutic for them. And this is the second year it's going now. And another kid took over, and there's a new group of kids, and it's the same type of kid coming in there, the ones with multiple classes. And I think that helps a lot too. Finding out you're not the only one, that you're not the only one feeling stressed and you're not by yourself, that helps a whole lot.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think that if you're ever feeling stressed, and if you ever feel at a low point in your life because of stress, people shouldn't hesitate to reach out to anyone and express those feelings, because people really do value their opinion and terms of stress and stuff. So it's important to maybe phone one of your best friends for 5 to 10 minutes, because I'm sure that they'll be extremely happy with what you have to say, because they are your friend, they value you, they value your opinion. And it's important to make sure that you are all right, because in that friendship, your content makes each other happy in the long run. So talking to your friend or talking to a family member, or maybe even teachers, would be great in terms of expressing your stress, because just letting it sit and letting it build up could lead to burnout. So it's definitely important to express those feelings to others, whether it be through a group or through different teachers or friends.
Migraines are also a big thing that kids get from stress. Like they get the migraine headaches, and taking aspirin does not help the situation.
Yeah, and also relating to the like finding a support system. It's also important, if you don't have one, to just establish one.
Yep.
Sure, we all have at least one supportive friend or family member that we can go to, which is great, but that's just the start of a support system. You need a whole network of people, and it's okay to rely on other people every once in a while, or even frequently if you need that. Just whatever you need to get you through the day. I think that people underestimate their friends.
I would also say, your school counselors, I know a lot of times kids love to complain about school counselors because they're like, schedules. They do so much more than schedules, guys. My school counselors and we had a very trusting and really good working relationship. I could be in the middle of a class, and if a kid came to me, and 9 times out of 10, they weren't my kid, I could literally drop what I was doing, walk that kid to the counselor's office, and they would take over. They want to help you. They don't just want to do schedules. They don't just want you to come in and be like, I don't like my teacher, then move me out of this class. They want to hear about how they can help you with your day-to-day, the stress that comes with school. Teresa, you're in 5 honors classes, 3 college classes, and 3 clubs. When I was in high school, I couldn't have handled that. I would have crashed. Okay. And I was one of those kids who would have been like, my counselor can't do anything because they don't understand. Well, now I know they do understand. No one goes to them enough for the word to get out. So if you do go to your counselor, let your friends know, hey, the counselors are here to help. They want you to come to them. When you're speaking of migraines, I need to put my glasses on before I go.
And it's really important too to understand that everybody feels stressed out. And your type of personality, for us AP Psych teachers, if you're a type A personality, you're someone that's stressed out all the
24/7.
Like, let me ask, how many of you out there are last minute studiers? Like you cram for your test the night before and you stress yourself out so badly, right? Yeah.
Guilty.
I mean, honestly, I used to do the same thing when I was in college. I was like up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning studying, and then the next day I'd ace it, right? But it caught up to me, and it'll catch up to you, because
it always does.
I think it was my senior year. I had 3 finals in one day, one at 8 o'clock, one at 12 o'clock, and one at 6 o'clock. And they were like 2 or 3 hours each with essays and multiple choice. By the time I got to that 3rd one, my brain was scrambled eggs.
Just
I
checked out.
Yeah, I was like completely, and you blank out. And the thing is, you do that to yourself by studying at the last minute, adding all that stress. But the type A stress personality is sometimes that's what works for them, and that's how their grades are so high, because they score really high and they feel that's the only way I'm going to get my high grades if I do this, because I always get it. But you're also putting your health at risk when you do that. As someone who has high blood pressure, I could tell you, you cause those. That's the stuff that leads to high blood pressure and heart problems. These are all things that stress can cause. And you guys are really young to have these issues. I mean, can I ask you something? How many of you already drink the drinks that are meant for the teachers, like Red Bull? Those drinks that are like about giving you energy? Because you realize that those drinks are made for people our age, right? Not for people your age.
They just changed the, I don't know if it's a law or if it's becoming a law. They changed it here in New Zealand, that if you are under the age of 16, you can't buy them. Then they
California, the kids can drink them like crazy, and they do. Like they'll walk in my room and they'll have a Monster, and I'm like, "Why are you drinking that? That drink is made for me, not for someone who's 16 years old."
I made them throw them out, and they hated me for it because like that's $5. Well, that's $5 you're throwing in the trash right now because you were not drinking.
Yeah,
that's like triple. Oh, sorry. That's like your triple the daily sugar intake that you should be having. It's insane how much they cram into those drinks.
Yeah, and going back to the fact that like people are leaving things to the last minute, I think a main way to like counteract this is to definitely plan ahead. I think that there are a lot of different resources out there, such as like your phone's calendar apps that can really help you, plan ahead and break down your assignments into smaller deadlines throughout the week leading up to that assignment. For me personally, I think the calendar apps like Google Calendar is like one of my best friends. So how I personally think of Google Calendar is like it's exactly like learning how to swim for the first time. Like when I first jumped into like the whole ocean of that app, it was quite shocking to make that adjustment to like this established routine. But in the end, it was so helpful to schedule these activities throughout that one app, and it became like muscle memory. And now I have this kind of ability to like freely swim in that ocean of like all the tasks that I'm assigned to do by planning ahead. So wait, do you guys like in the chat, so say yes or no, do you guys use a planner or a calendar in your daily life for studying and stuff?
Google Calendar is in the holy trinity.
Google Calendar is amazing. And like also planners too. Like I personally have a planner here. I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you guys see this here?
I still can't see you.
I still can't see you either.
I see it.
Huh, weird.
Yeah, for like me personally, I use both Google Calendar and like a planner, like a bullet journal, like some people were saying in the chat. And I think that either way, you should have some sort of way to plan your day ahead. Like for me personally, aside, I use like this physical planner that entails of all of my plans for every day regarding schoolwork and homework and extracurricular activities. And it said that writing is actually the best method to help you retain the information because typing it like digitally and through different apps, it helps you be able to understand and process the information in a more efficient manner. So writing things down in a journal or like in a planner will definitely increase your level of focus, and you'll be able to retain that piece of information and be able to remember that assignment that you have to do. And you can always resort back to your planner and just look to keep yourself updated and check off which assignments that you still have to do to get a better gauge on the things that you've completed and the things that you still need to do. So definitely use your resources, use your apps, use your journal, your planners, and everything like that. So that would definitely help in terms of not procrastinating to the last minute for different exams and stuff.
And see, that's great for notes. Oh, sorry, you go.
Oh, it's just something I would add to that for those of you that are in a lot of extracurricular, because I see you guys talking about that in the chat. Make sure you're your own advocate, okay? The extracurriculars are something that I think a lot of people forget. They're extra, right? I always have my students, they need to, in the same way with adults, we have to prioritize what's important in our life, right? And right now, like your job is school. And then after that comes, for depending on who you are, it might be your family, your friends, and then your extracurriculars, however you rank them. But for you, you need to be your own advocate that if you are drowning in work because you've got all these extracurriculars, you need to tell whoever the sponsor is, I'm not coming, I'm going to be at home doing my work. Because if you don't advocate for yourself, no one else is going to advocate for you either. And that's the way that we as sponsors, because I was a sponsor. I sponsored Model UN, I sponsored Culture Club, I did a culture show every year that took hours to plan. And kids would be like, I can't come, I have homework. And I'd be like, okay, that's fine. Because I cared more about you guys being successful in school than I did about me being successful at competition or me being successful at a show, because that's all extra.
In chat, go ahead.
I'll wait for you.
Oh, thank you. In chat, we have someone saying, is it normal to feel like you're not doing enough? Even if I'm in however many APs and however many clubs, I still feel like I'm not working hard enough. I feel like the issue nowadays is that we set a goal, we reach that goal, but then we just set it higher instead of being content with the progress that we've made. And it's just a different frame of mind that you don't really hear of a whole lot anymore, especially with modern students who seem to be working themselves harder than ever before.
I know that when I went to the College Board annual conference this last summer, they were talking about less is more instead of more is less. And they were emphasizing that And the colleges, yeah, they like for you to take AP classes, but they also like you to not overload yourself so much that you can't handle all the classes you're taking, plus be involved in extracurricular activities and be a well-rounded student. They're not just looking for you to get straight A's and everything. They also want to see that you do other stuff outside of the classroom as well as in. And if you do too much in the classroom, you won't have time to do stuff outside to make you well-rounded. So it's like you have to pick and choose, and you have to be cognizant of what you can do. You can't overload yourself like the kid that went into a fetal position on the floor in my room. He took 5 AP exams that year. And I'm like, are you insane? 5? And then he had like 2 in a day. And I'm just like, and he was going nuts. And every day he was coming in getting stressed out. And, and I don't mind because I've been teaching AP Psych for 14 years. And for some reason, people think that makes me a psychologist. And I always tell them I'm not.
Not a psychologist.
I teach it, I just teach the stuff. But what I am is a good listener. And half the time, even if you don't have like a teacher or an advocate or a counselor to talk to, as long as you have a friend that listens, it feels good to de-stress. It feels good to vent, to have someone just hear you complain for a while because you have all the stuff bottled up. And then the majority of students, it's so funny too, because I don't know if any of you out there are like this, but a lot of the students that take my AP Psych class are introverts. And introverts do not like to share their feelings. And so they bottle up everything. And I keep telling them, I go, that bottling up, that stress building and building and build. Yes. And I go,
it's going to explode. It's going to find a way to come out.
And it's going to come out. And that stress is not good for you. It just isn't. And you have to find what works for you to de-stress. Sometimes it's a stress ball, like having that, as silly as it is, having that ball and letting that energy and squeezing it, like in his cat, listening to a song in your head or listening to soft music or heck, even Disney music sometimes puts you in a good mood and makes
all the time.
Out of frame of
Disney music's amazing. Hello.
Or exercise. I'm one of those people that likes to take all my negative energy and turn it positive, and I go do Zumba, which I love to do. That's just me because I like dancing. And it's exercise, but at the same time, I'm letting all out the negative energy of the day. You have to find what works for you, because what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. The idea of de-stressing is to find out what helps you de-stress. And when you find that, trust me, you will feel it and you will know it, because it feels so good to let it all out.
We have some really good discussion going on in the chat right now. Somebody said, I keep thinking someone else is going to take my place in college because they have one more extracurricular than me. There's too much emphasis that's placed on, oh, you are your classes, you are your extracurriculars. Mm-hmm. That does not describe your experience. That does not describe who you are. You can convey that a lot better within the essays.
Yeah, I've heard about essays that have gotten people into college. I apologize too. Yeah. The essay stood out. They wrote something extra about themselves personally, not an extracurricular activity, but an inner struggle that they had to overcome or go through. And that's what got them in the door. It wasn't all the classes and stuff. It's what made their essay stand out.
And college recruiters, guys, I've worked with them before. I've talked to them. I mean, UT, University of Texas, I was a teacher in Texas. That's the big school, Texas A&M. Those are the two that every kid I've ever talked to, that's where they want to go. And then so they want to take 7 AP classes. They want to do all the extracurriculars. And the recruiters always say the same thing. They don't care. They don't care about your grades. What they care about is 2 main things. How have you survived a setback? Okay, because if you are a kid who has always made A's, you've never had a problem in school, and then you get to college and you have that first 600-person class that you end up failing, some people can't handle that, and then they end up dropping out of school. If you're in high school and you can show that you have had a setback and you have come back from it, that is so much more important than any kind of rank you can ever have. Because I know so many kids who are in the top 10%, top 5%, who they got to college and they failed that class and then they dropped out. Versus the kid who might not have taken all AP and might not have been in all of the extracurricular, but they did struggle. And when they succeeded, it meant so much more to them. So they were able to handle that setback when they got to college. That's really what universities are looking for. Is can you be able to handle the stress? And the cat is driving me nuts.
Yeah, and sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, wait.
I think we all have something to say.
Yes.
Right. One at a time. You guys go first.
Yeah, that definitely goes along with the whole thing about imposter syndrome. You know, I think, you know, the best way to kind of make sure that you fulfill your passions and like you feel like fulfilled like within, you know, your extracurricular life and your academic life is stop comparing yourself to others, because everyone goes at their own pace. And, you know, I see a lot of discussion happening in the chat as well. And I think, you know, one tip that I give to high school students, so I see this in the questions, is that no matter what happens in terms of your grades and your academics as a result of homework and everything, just know that a number on a piece of paper compared to someone else does not define you whatsoever. There are so many different factors that define you. You have your personality, your passions, your drive. And there's so many different things that make you great and make you important to those around you. And your mental health, your passion, and your drive are worth more than 100% on your test. It's worth more than a 4.0 GPA. And it's worth more that on that A plus than that A plus on your project. And it's important to be mindful of the fact that no one's going to call you out for having a bad test day or for having less extracurriculars than the other person, because you have so much time to bounce back from the situation. You have so much time to explore different extracurriculars. So whenever you aren't satisfied with your grade or where your extracurricular standing is in general, just take that as motivation to know that you can always improve the next time around. But for now, so it's time that you relax and take your mind off of those negligible aspects of your life, because what matters the most is you, and you are still on this journey. So don't stress about comparing yourself to others, because you are there and you can go at your own pace. So definitely keep that in mind as a tip that going through your high school experience.
Yeah, and if you're looking at students just as numbers alone, like ACT, SAT score, GPA, the number of extracurriculars, you no longer have a person, you have a recipe. It's just the cold data of what they've done, not what they've been through, how they've gotten through it. It's less of a person, and it's just a really dehumanizing way to think about it overall. And it's a shame. We should probably move on to keep up with the discussion since we have so much going on in the chat.
Yeah, so we also have a lot of questions here as well. So, so one question is, what are some suggestions for time management? So in terms of me personally, so I think that honestly, the main thing to keep in mind in terms of time management is that never feel ashamed to take any breaks. You know, simply put, if you ever feel stressed, just take a 5-minute breather or take a quick run, or identify of your stress and immediately with like short pauses from your busy life is absolutely admirable. And I think that taking throughout your different time and your different routine will prevent you from burning out. And I think that taking those small breaks to acknowledge your stress at the moment is an important thing to keep in mind. And it's definitely better to do this rather than letting the stress build up over time without taking breaks. So I think that yes, you do have to be mindful of your time management, but definitely like keep in mind out, because it's definitely important to revitalize your energy while you're studying and like time management as well. So, and also in terms of time management, I would just say identify the root of your procrastination. Often when you're faced with difficult tasks, it's very easy to get distracted, and all of a sudden everything else seems more interesting to you, and then you'll want to avoid that difficult task for as long as you can. So in order to counteract this, just eliminate those distractions, because usually social media is what might distract you and it's what might lead you to procrastinate. So I think if you just eliminate those and really focus in on your assignments and plan ahead, then I think that will really help you out in terms of your time management.
Yeah, and in the chat we have someone saying, we're a little bit far behind on this, but I feel bad that my workload doesn't seem that bad. I'm taking 5 APs, but it doesn't feel like I'm drowning in work, and I feel bad about myself since I feel like what successful students look like is working all the time. And so when I have time to say go to sleep at 11 p.m. and not 3 a.m., I feel a little bad about myself in a weird way. That might be an academically successful student, but how successful is that student to themselves in terms of how content are they with life? Are they doing what they enjoy? They might seem successful from the outside, but what's like truly important is just being successful internally and fulfilling all that you want to do with your life. We only have so many years.
Well,
go ahead.
Like I was gonna say, like I still remember my favorite teacher, Mrs. Hart, which I always like to mention to everybody. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. But she told us, I remember being in school and we were like the normal typical teenagers and like not wanting to like be there and all wanting to be at home and not be in class. And then she asked the question like, well, how many of you want to go to school for the next 25 years? I'm like, what do you mean? You all hate coming here every day, right? They're like, we all, yeah. And then she's like, well, imagine doing this for the next 25 years. When you pick your career, when you're picking what you're going to study, when you're picking your major, you have to make sure you're picking something you want to do and not what other people want you to do. It's like, why are your certain classes your favorite classes? Is it because that's the subject you like? Is it the subject you're interested in? And what about the classes you hate? And you know what I mean? I mean, that everything's about intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. What's pushing you? And those things can be causing you the stress as well. And most of the time we stress our own self out. We're causing our own stress. We're putting it like the procrastination thing. We make ourselves more stressed than we actually have to be. I used to tell my kids, you know, when they get a bad test and the kids are stressed out the hour after it, and I get them right after AP Calc, and they're like so stressed out and sitting in my room, and I'm like, can you undo it? And like, what do you mean? I'm like, can you undo your score? And they're like, no, then why are you sitting there concentrating on it? Why are you concentrating on it? Why are you worrying about it? You can't change it. All you can do is change your next test score. So stop worrying about it and stressing yourself. You are making yourself more stressed out the more you concentrate on it.
Yep.
And that in itself is causing the stress that's driving everybody nuts. I said, so yeah, it's like you have to be to their end self. You can only fix the problem that you want to fix. You know what I mean? So yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
At the end of the day, we're just our own worst enemies. Yes. I don't think that there's anyone more critical of ourselves than ourselves. Just try to take a look at it like from the outside and see, what do other people think of me? You shouldn't care, but if it'll help you get out of that mindset of, oh, I'm only doing this, there might be somebody on the other end who really respects the work that you do.
You're like, why? I got a 99, but this person got 100. Oh, well, 99 is a high score. What the heck? Why aren't you happy?
That's still an A+.
You're 70 something before you got a 90, but I'm missing that 1 point. I'm just like, are you serious? You have an A. It's an A. Are you not happy? It's an A. It's not perfect. It's an A.
Drove me insane when kids would be like, well, I want a higher A. And I'd be like, okay, well, how about I drop it to a B? And then next time you get a higher grade, it'll be an A. And they'll be like, what? I'm like, I don't, whether it's a 95 or 100, I don't care. You shouldn't either.
Yes.
Here in New Zealand, one of the things that I love, and it like kind of shocked me into realizing how arbitrarily stupid our grading system is in the United States. What does a 99 represent? What does a 50 represent? Those are arbitrary numbers. Somebody somewhere down the road in 100, 150 years ago said, all right, we're going to measure on a scale of 100. And if you get a 50, you don't know anything. If you get a 70, you know just the bare minimum. I'm sorry. If you know a 50, you know 50% of the content. That's a lot of content. That's important to understand, that when you look at it, that is a content understanding rather than just that tiny little numerical value. They don't do numbers here at all. Like, their grading system isn't based off of, did you get 100 or 99 or something like that. it's based off of their love for learning. How did they go and accept that learning? Were they involved in the learning? Did they seek out the help that they needed? Things like that. And I really think one of the things AP students need to kind of internalize, and it takes time, is that the number doesn't matter. Growth matters.
Well, like to add to that, I just started teaching. I'm teaching AP Psych, and I teach APUSH now too. And for anybody that knows anything about APUSH, it's got a 50% passing rate. Half the students in the United States do not pass it. And I tell the kids, I'm happy. I mean, I want you to get 3, 4s, and 5s, but if you get a 2, I'm happy because a 2 says, I thought, I learned, I was there, I learned the content. I go, you should be proud of yourself when the majority of the half the United States fails that exam. I mean,
our own history.
Very hard exam. But, all kids see is the number. And I'm like, you're more than a number.
Yep.
You know what you've learned in a class. And I've had several students who scored a 2 talk to me 2 or 3 years later when they're taking their exam, they're taking their college classes, and I get an old Instagram post or an email post or a Facebook post and say, Ms. Valdez, thank you. I just aced my final. And I'm like, what do you mean you aced your final? I aced because I remembered everything from your class. Hello. The content, they still had it in their head.
Yep.
I feel like it's moments like that make teaching worth it. Just the wholesome interactions with your students, and they aren't there to judge you. They're there to help you. They want to see you succeed. If you ever feel like you have a teacher that's just out to get you, no, they just want to see you succeed. Why would they go into that career? Adding on to earlier, we were talking about, do you like this? Can you see yourself spending the next 25 years doing this?
Exactly.
And numbers doesn't make sense.
Yeah, numbers shouldn't, define you. So don't think that you're worth solely that number, because there's a lot of factors that go into your learning. And I think that what's more important is the interaction with your teacher, definitely the participation in class discussions. That really does show your progress other than just the number. There are a lot of different factors like participating in class, asking questions. So don't think that just your grades are an indication of your success in the class. The success in your class could basically equate to your progression and improvement, because there are so many different ways to bounce back from that one grade. So don't really stress out about that one number, because there are so many different ways and so many different resources that you can use to essentially improve from that situation. And also there are a lot of questions here. One question here is, I have terrible test anxiety, and it seems that tests are a large part of high school. How can I overcome that and still do well on my tests? So I think personally, for you should just take more practice tests within your own time. Because I think if you put yourself into that setting of a test environment within your home, and then you just apply it into the actual school setting, you start to get more used to it, and it starts to become more muscle memory. And if you just start to become more familiar with the test environment within your own home, and you just keep on practicing, just trying to act like that environment, then eventually you'll get more used to, taking tests in high school. So I think that managing test anxiety basically equates to just practicing more, constantly in your house, just, constantly, repeating, taking more tests and everything. So I think if you just train yourself to get familiar with the format of the exam within your own time, then it will definitely help relieve some of that anxiety regarding testing in high school.
And adding on to the test anxiety thing, as someone who's been diagnosed with clinical anxiety for who even knows how long at this point, another great way to fix that is, or at least in the moment, improve that, is just do this simple breathing technique. It's you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold, then you breathe out for 4 seconds, you hold, and then you do that again. It's more of a physiological way, but it's great to slow your heart rate. And that's something that's helped me with testing throughout the years. I noticed a pretty good difference immediately. And it's okay to take just like 12 seconds, 20 seconds, however long you need to just breathe, because you're not going to be doing well if you're stressed out, you're having an anxiety attack midway through the test. It'll help you more in the end to just take that time to breathe. We should talk more about the stream chat. Oh, there is so much.
Yeah, I wanted to bring in, because it kind of goes along with the test anxiety, this whole what do I do with my life anxiety. You don't need to know. Why do you need to know at 16 years old? Who said you need to know at 16-year-old? When you go and apply for college, you're going to pick a major, and I'm going to tell you right now, 9/10 of you are going to change it at least once. At least once. I changed my major 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I went in originally as a Chem major, changed that almost immediately. Then I was a Spanish major, then a poli-sci Spanish major, and then just a poli-sci major. Okay, and it's not because I didn't know what I wanted to do, it's because I was interested in so many different things, right? College is about finding out who you are. It's about finding what you like and going along those lines. Okay, it's not about going in and having a plan. That is the one beauty of the American education system, right? For all of its faults, it has something that nowhere else in the world has, and that it allows you to explore who and what you want to be. Students in other countries, by the time they're your age, when they say they're going to be a doctor or an engineer or something like that, they literally mean that they've already started those classes, okay? That they've already done engineering classes, or they've done the medical classes that we would associate with being as a freshman or sophomore in college. And so when they go to university, they can't change. You have this wonderful ability that you can explore and change. That when kids do tell me, oh, I want to be a doctor. Okay, that's great. Why? What do you want? Why do you want to be a doctor? And a lot of the times, yeah, they'll say, oh, I want the money, because doctors make a lot of money. Okay, well, yes, money is a great thing, but what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with that money? You're just going to stash it, or are you going to donate it?
It can't buy happiness, like
Money
a career
cannot.
can.
It can help towards happiness, of course, but it can't buy happiness. And how are you going to become that doctor or that lawyer? Because, saying it's one thing, realizing that it's 8 or 12 or however many years of school it is another thing. Because the other thing about university is that most kids nowadays do not graduate in 4 years. They graduate in 5. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Graduating in 5 years, it doesn't matter. You graduated. There's a lot of people who went and didn't graduate. There's a lot of people who couldn't go and wish they could have gone. You at least got to finish the whole race, if you want to look at it as that way. But more importantly, don't think that you have to have it figured out now, right? I said in the chat, I'm 33 years old. I've been teaching since I was 21, right? This would have been my 12th year teaching. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I enjoy teaching. I love my kids. I miss my kids incredibly since moving, but I don't know if this is what I want to do until I die, because I'm interested in so many things, and that's okay.
In chat, like on a more positive note, this is way further back, but we have one person saying, I always look at my friends and see how much they do, and I feel like I don't do as much as they do. But at the same time, I also remind myself that what I'm doing is enough for myself, and that's what's important. Then we have another person saying, I used to compare myself more than ever. I felt inferior, and all despite being in high school, and you're definitely better than who you think you are. And it's just really important as well. We've been talking about all of these heavy topics, but it's also important to celebrate and like the positive aspects. It's a humanistic approach, which is a little less common nowadays. We tend to focus on the negatives, like, oh, this bad thing happened, but we never focus on the positives and the celebratory aspects of who we are and what we do. You could be in the 90th percentile, celebrate that instead of despairing over the fact, being like torn up over the fact that you're not in the top like 5%, top 1%.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, whatever position you're in, there's always going to be some positive aspects, as you said. You might not have the best extracurriculars as this other person, but you have a sense of passion within areas. So don't feel like you are not doing enough. Just continue to make strong contributions to the purpose that you have. Stop comparing yourself to other people, because you are in a great place within yourself. The progression that you're making is not based on comparing yourself to others. It's a matter of just internal improvement and things like that. And also, there is another question here in the question section. It says, what is some advice on dealing with my parents when they put a lot of pressure on me to do well? I know they mean the best for me, but when I'm getting overloaded with work, I just need a support system. So essentially with this question, I think the best advice I have for you is, definitely like surround yourself with a group of people who can be there for you. And don't be afraid to reach out to your guidance counselors or your teachers to give you advice on this, because they have probably been in your position before. They have, everyone, I'm sure, like in some aspect, parents definitely could put some pressure on you in terms of like academics and extracurriculars, but you can express to them, just know that you have a passion and you have a goal, and you just want to, convey that to them, and just convey the steps that you are going to take to get to that goal, because there's not one specific, recipe for having success and, for basically, being successful within the school system. So as long as you express to them what your passions are, what your goals are for the future, I think that they will support you along the way. And if you gather along your support system with your friends and your guidance counselors and your teachers, they can definitely help you out in terms of, identifying how exactly to be successful without, fitting that mold that your parents are expecting from you.
You can't be afraid. You can't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Honestly, look, I am not a math person. I hated math classes. College, me and math did not go. But when you have to take a class to get your college degree and you're stuck in those math classes and you don't understand something, I would be the one person in the room that would raise my hand. And it went through my head. Oh, people are going to think you're stupid. But you know what? I think it's more dumb not to say anything.
Totally.
And not learn what you need. You're paying for that. Like I always tell my students when I'm teaching or I'm lecturing in the room, if you don't understand something, ask, because that's my job. That's what I get paid to do. My job is to teach. And if you feel like you don't understand, there's nothing wrong with you asking a question, because that's what they're there for. And you can't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, how do you know they're not going to answer? Don't always expect they're going to say no. You don't always expect they're going to be negative and say no. If you don't ask, you don't know. It's like when you want that $20 from your mom and dad, right? And you're like, should I ask them? Are they in a good mood or a bad mood? What if they would have given you that $20? You'd be $20 richer. You don't know until you ask. There's no harm in asking. It's just that getting over that fear. Take the deep breath and ask. If they say no, no. But what if they say yes? You won't know unless you try.
And
I would that's onto that. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
Oh, I was going to transition. Oh, okay.
Oh, I would just tack on to that about the question about dealing with your parents, because it kind of goes with both. Culture is going to play into this, obviously, because certain cultures have different ways of dealing with parents and child relationships. You can be respectful of whatever culture you come from while still exerting yourself as an individual, because one of the things about culture is that it evolves and it changes. Okay, the culture of my parents is not the culture that I have. I have some of it, but I don't have all of it, because I'm not them. And some of it I was like, I'm not passing that on, because it might not have been healthy. I might not agree with it, whatever the reason is. It's about showing your parents respect, but in the same breath saying, I'm respecting where you're coming from. You have to respect where I'm coming from. Okay, because you are an individual, you are a human being, you have the right to be heard. And ultimately, it is your choice. Okay, I tell my kids all the time when it comes to signing up for classes, if you don't want to take the class, don't take the class, because ultimately what's going to end up happening is that fear, that anger, that distress, whatever the emotion, that negative emotion will negatively impact you on being able to pass the class the way you might want to, because you've been forced into it. Yeah. And so that's the biggest piece of advice I can say is respect where your parents are coming from. but also make sure that they are respecting where you're coming from too. You have the right to ask for that respect back.
And that's like a great transition into this person who said, at my school, the AP and college students are all in one friend group together, and we study and do homework together, but it always feels like we know that we're competing against each other, and there's a lot of tension. And then this was also followed up by, it worries me because it seems like no one else is stressed out because no one ever talks about it. We just talk about what we need to do next for our grades. That, I would say that's a great example of not necessarily a toxic support system, but a support system that's great for academics, but not so much personally. It's, nobody wants to talk about it because it's the elephant in the room, and it just typically is shown as a sign of weakness, when in reality it's something that we really need to discuss. Everyone deals with it. Everyone deals with it differently, but that group of friends should try to do less competing and just overall try to support each other more. You don't have to offer advice. A lot of people actually prefer just having an ear to listen, like someone to listen, or someone like a shoulder to cry on. Just the tension is unhealthy.
Yeah, for sure. And also that leads into this other question that I found. It says, Angelina says, how to open up to others. I've been finding it hard to speak up at all nowadays. And like Emily was saying, opening up to others and speaking up, it's not a sign of a weakness, it's a sign of a strength. So don't be afraid to ask questions, because you're not alone in the situation. Everything will be okay if you value your opinion. So don't be afraid to speak up, because other people might have the same question as well. So definitely, just feel free to ask for help. Ask any questions you like, because people might be in the same boat as you. So you never know how many similarities other people might hold in terms of your confusion with anything, with any different topics, whether it be stress or time management or any other questions. So yeah, don't be afraid to speak up. It's a sign of strength, and it's very admirable to do.
I can't tell you how many people would thank me at the end of the period for asking that question that no one else wanted to ask because they were afraid of how it would make them look. And I'm like, I want to pass this class, so I need to learn this. That's the whole point of being in there, so you're learning. You can't be afraid to ask a question.
Life is a journey
There
about
was
learning.
also someone.
Knowing everything.
Oh, good.
It was just a comment. Life's a journey about learning.
Okay.
You're gonna your entire life. You'll learn up until the day you die. All right. It's not about knowing everything, because if you knew everything, what would be the point of living? Why would you do anything? You're not going to have any enjoyment out of it.
Someone else also said, sadly, my close friends are stuck with the mindset that you're too stressed about the next test that you don't have time to worry about yourself. Working hard to get yourself out through self-pep, but while the comparisons are gone, it's not the best place to be at either. So overall, it's just, if they're saying that you should be more stressed about your test grades than yourself, that's not a good group of friends. They might be entertaining to be around, but it's just overall a very unhealthy friendship dynamic,
Yep.
which we went over a little bit earlier, just with a slightly different situation.
You always, no matter how many classes you're taking, no matter how many activities you're doing, no matter how much stuff you have to get done, every person is a human being. Every person needs sleep. Every person needs rest. And every person needs 5 or 10 minutes just to sit and let their brain chill and relax and breathe.
Yeah, and definitely once in a while, when you're feeling very stressed and need a day to sit back and relax and release hectic schedule, it's perfectly okay to take your own mental health day. Sometimes you may need to get your mind off of all of that hectic schoolwork and homework and stresses around school in general. So don't be afraid to spend the day with yourself. The most important thing to keep in mind when taking the mental health day is to make sure that you're relaxed and you rid yourself of everything else that's going on in your life.
Yep.
And do things that you personally enjoy, that make you feel relaxed or comfortable, or something that you normally don't have time to do.
Yeah.
What I recommend you do is maybe step outside of your house, take a long walk throughout your neighborhood, and just take the time to admire your surroundings, take a deep breath, and just kind of relax and just let your mind release from all of that tension. Like all
Remove yourself from the situation.
Exactly.
Find your escape. Everybody's
Yep.
escape is different. What works for one may not work. Taking a walk might help. Listening to some music might help. Reading whatever you need to escape for that me time. It's so important to get me time. And there's nothing selfish about getting some me time.
Nope.
And as long as it's healthy
Me time is
coping.
gonna give you sanity, especially when you're stressed.
And guys, my biggest piece of advice I can give you guys, because it goes along with that last question that's in that box that I posed to you, if you're going to take more than 4 AP classes, you really need to think about why are you doing that? Because if you are caught up in that rank and that number game that so many kids are caught up in, you are setting yourself up for an unhealthy relationship with education. Okay. If you're genuinely interested in it, which I know somebody earlier had said that they're going to take all 7 or 8 AP classes. I don't know how many of you guys have a day, because they're genuinely interested in all, but they're worried about if it's going to be successful. That worry right there should really tell you maybe this isn't a good idea. Okay. I had a student, now it's 5 years ago almost. 5 years ago. She took 8 AP classes her junior year, which technically is not even possible because our schedule was 7. Okay, so she was self-studying an extra one on top of the 7 she was taking. And at AP test time, the stress got so much to her that the littlest things set her off because she couldn't handle it all. And she didn't open up to anybody and talk to us about that stress. She's no longer with us, okay, because she made the decision that that was the easier way to handle that stress. And when it comes to signing up for AP classes since then, I always told my students, if you are taking more than 4, you're not getting a signature from me, because they have to have our approval if they want to take an AP class, because your mental health is more important than anything else. Your mental well-being is more important than anything else that is in school. The grades don't matter. The rank doesn't matter. What college you go to, guys, it really doesn't matter. Because once you get out of college, no one goes, did you go to Harvard? No, I'm not hiring you. No one in my 12 years of being out of school has ever looked at my degree and said, I'm not going to hire you because you didn't go to this school. Okay. What matters is that you completed, that you went the distance, that you stuck it out. So please really keep in mind, if you're going to overload yourself on more than 4 AP classes, why are you doing it? And what is the outcome going to be? Because I don't want to hear about another story of another kid who the stress got too much and now they're no longer with us, right? Because it goes around from school to school to school. We hear about it, right? As teachers, I know about it from states all over the US, from friends of mine that I've met that tell me about their students that couldn't handle it because they didn't ask for help and they overloaded themselves.
And remember too that you're not by yourself. Most
Ever.
of you have taken multiple AP classes. There are people that are feeling just as stressed as you, that are in just as many activities as you, and as many of multiple AP classes as you. And you're like, I don't want to talk to them, but there's nothing wrong with showing that you're a human being. You have to stop looking at having feelings as it being weak. We're all supposed to, if you take your psych classes, emotions are a part of life. How do you know what happiness is unless you've been sad? So you need to let those feelings out, and you have to find a safe outlet for them. So if you feel like your friends are toxic and it's more that competitive thing is right there, then find that one. We all have that one friend in our group, the one that's just a really good listener that sits there and listens. Utilize them, because they're not going to be around forever. And if you have that and you're lucky enough to have it, because it'll help you de-stress so much, because sometimes just talking with somebody helps. It really does.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. To use your support system. There are so many people around you who care about you, who value your opinion, and want you to speak up and ask your questions and answer your questions. So I think it's very important to surround yourself with a group of people who are there to help. And just know that you matter more than that number on your test, and know that you are worth more than that grade or your GPA or your report card. So it's just about time to come to a closure in the stream, but we just want to remind you guys how much you matter to us. You know, whether or not we know you personally, just know that people care. There are people here for you who value your mental health more than any number on your quiz or test. So if you would like to talk to any one of us, like beyond this stream, we actually have a Discord. So if you go to the Important Mental Health Resources link, there's actually a private study sessions, a Discord where you can chat with us and everything. So feel free to hop in there after the stream if you have any questions or you just want to have a nice chat with us. We just wanted to emphasize how special each and every single one of you are. And although you might be facing a lot of stress at the moment, there are a lot of people around you who you can spend time with to help you in the process. So yeah, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the stream. And again, happy World Mental Health Day. And I hope you guys have an amazing night. Yeah.
We hope you got something out of this as well. Maybe a question answered, or just maybe remove some of the stigma for you, just because it's so hard to get help.
And you can always reach out, not just on Discord. We also have Intercom on the 500 website. Those are real people that respond. I'm one of them. Okay. So you can always reach out through there. We will help you, or we will find the way to help you. And your counselors, your teachers, your parents, your friends, there is somebody there who is waiting for you to come and ask for help.
No, I'm not the only teacher that listens to people. So you all have that one teacher on campus, you can go to that always has the open ear. Use them, utilize them.
Yeah, definitely. So, feel free to chat with us wherever, like through Intercom, through Discord and everything. We're glad that you guys opened up to us. Like, it was so awesome getting to, interact with you guys. And yeah, thank you so much for attending this stream, and we hope to see you guys in future streams in this health and wellness series. So thank you all and have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.